This video is brought to you by BossRootin.com and PowerPerformanceProducts.com, where you can receive $10 off your purchase of Body Storm and Body Effects. Spencer Lazar reporting for MMAinterviews.tv. I'm on the phone with Executive Director of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Keith Kizer. Appreciate the time you're giving us here. I know you're incredibly busy. So I guess start us off with what happened today.
Well, we got the results back from the March 27th drug test that we did on the fighters after the UFC 146 press conference at the MGM Grand. 5 of the fighters came back negative for everything. Mr. Overeem came back negative for everything except for an elevated TE ratio. It was reported as being over 10 to 1. I don't have the exact figure, though, above that yet.
Okay, so explain a little bit about what that means. He wasn't actually tested positive for steroids, but his testosterone to estrogen level was off.
Was elevated, yeah, severely elevated. What that indicates is the use of some sort of synthetic testosterone. That's the allegation based on the reported level there. That was the A sample that was reported. He has the ability, if he so desires, to get the B sample tested. He just needs to notify us to that he wants that done and what lab he wants used to have it tested at. If he does that, we'll have that done as well, and then depending on that result, we'd move forward.
Okay, so, I mean, it's obviously some sort of. Would this have anything to do with TRT? You know, with everything going on with that, or is that something that has?
Hard to know. Like I said, it indicates use of synthetic testosterone, whether or not it was used as part of a TRT. I don't know. And
so, I mean, as of now, he has to appear. Can you speculate at all of what a normal course of action is for something like this?
Well, in this situation, he's not licensed. None of these fighters are licensed yet. Our licenses always expire at the end of the year. So his license, for example, 2011 expired on December 31st at midnight, as with everyone else's. So this is a situation because he tested positive, assuming that the B sample does not come back negative. If it does, then that wipes out the A sample positive. But assuming it doesn't come back negative, then he would have to appear before the commission in order to get licensed, and the commission would take into account the positive drug test at that time.
Okay, so in the past, have fighters come before, had this happen and come before the commission there and be able to get licensed? Has that happened?
Well, we've actually never had that. Most of the time we do the tests are fight night tests, so the fighters are already licensed. So in those situations, it's a complaint for disciplinary action against the license of the fighter. In this situation, because it was out of competition before he was licensed, it's more of a licensing matter than a disciplinary matter. And therefore, if this does go on an agenda, the commission's recourse, if they felt they wanted to react negatively to this, would be to deny him a license, and he'd be unable to reapply for licensure for a period of 12 months.
Okay. So you can't verify if in the past fighters have. I mean, this isn't something that's common then, obviously, as you said, but you can't recall any other similar instances.
Well, so it's the first time competition test we've gotten back negative. Positive. First one we've got back positive. So you've never had that situation before. We have had other fighters who failed drug tests in the past come before us for licensure, and the commission's discussed that matter with them before making their decision. In fact, we'll have that again with Shane Mosley. He'll be on our agenda coming up probably at the end of this month, and he'll probably be on that agenda and have to deal with the issue that he had allegedly used protein-enhancing drugs way back when. We've had him before several times, but other fighters too, if they failed in the past, Josh Burnett, when he came to fight here in Pride, had to appear before us and answer questions regarding his failed test with the Randy Couture fight. We've had that with some other fighters as well, and he would be one, Mr. Overeem would be one, assuming again that the B sample is not negative.
Okay. And I guess while I have you on the line, maybe we can talk a little bit about Nick Diaz's situation. What's going on there?
Well, see, Nick was licensed when he failed his drug test, so that was a complaint for disciplinary action. The attorney for Mr. Diaz and the attorney for the AG's office are discussing the matter, and I believe there's going to be some sort of still waiting for an exchange of documents. And then once that's done, that'll probably be set for hearing, and we'll proceed per usual.
What is his defense exactly in the matter?
Yeah, I'm not his attorney. You want to ask his attorney that question.
Okay, and then let's move on quickly just to the TRT situation. And obviously, you guys are UFC, and you guys are taking steps like you did here to pre-test guys even before licensing, or pre-fight tests in general.
Right.
What can you tell us about TRT and the legality of it?
Well, TRT would be, I guess, looking more broadly, you're talking about therapeutic use exemptions. And those are, I think anywhere that does drug testing does have therapeutic use exemptions, or the ability to give such if certain conditions are met. And as I mentioned before, our program is pretty much modeled after the one WADA does, with a couple of additional requirements, a couple additional safeguards, so kind of the platinum standard on top of the gold standard. And basically, for the layman, what you do is the athlete needs to submit from his doctor or her doctor a letter explaining what's going on, the medical testing to back it up. All that comes to our doctor in the TUE application. Our doctor reviews it, talks to the athlete's doctor, may require additional tests to be done, and then he'll make a determination on whether or not they've met the requirement. We also require additional information from the athlete as well, non-medical information, and that all goes into whether or not to grant the therapy use exemption, be it for TRT or be it for anything else that would be on the prohibited substance list.
So if you do, let's say you get cleared to do TRT, is there any extra testing that is required for that?
Yes, certainly. That's another thing too. If someone is granted therapeutic use exemption for TRT or for anything else, they're subject to additional testing, also additional medical record submission requirements. So all that would come into play, especially with TRT.
Would it be like a random test? So, I mean, obviously the argument against using it is that people will elevate and then get their levels back down in time for fight time. So,
right.
Yeah. What can you tell us?
That's the concern. And yes, your question, they'd be subject to random tests at any time per our demand in order to stay in compliance with that TUE.
Beautiful. Okay, and just lastly, one more thing back to the Overeem. So, in your professional opinion, maybe you can give us any insight in whether you think he has a good shot of getting licensed or not. I know that's a broad question.
Well, based on a positive drug test, as of right now, the A sample coming back positive for an elevated TE ratio is definitely grounds for denial.
I appreciate the time. Keith Kizer, Executive Director of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Really appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Godspeed and party on.